Fort O'Brien, ESPN Evansville 105.3 online, ESPNEvansville.com. Just how good will the Kentucky Wildcats be this season? Will IU be as bad as people may think due to all the off-court issues they've had this season? And what's the Big Ten look like in general? We asked all those questions of ESPN college basketball analyst Sean Farnham earlier today when he joined us on the Menard Studio Hotline. Here's our conversation with Sean Farnham. Where we sit here in Indiana is right on the border of Indiana and Kentucky. So we've got like a huge contingent of IU fans. We've got a huge contingent of University of Kentucky fans. And we'll get to IU in just a minute. But I want to get your thoughts to start today on Kentucky. They come in ranked number 1 in the preseason. Some people are saying this may be the best team that they may have ever had, at least under the Calipari era. From what you see and what you've had the chance to look at here before the season gets underway, are they as good as advertised? And is this a team that could run the table through the season?
I think any talk of an undefeated season needs to be back down just a little bit. I think it's an outstanding team. I think 1 through 12, they're as talented as any team I can remember. I mean, you start going through in the freshman-eligible era, have we ever seen a team that's this deep, this long, this talented? The answer might be no. I mean, now you could go back to the era where a freshman couldn't play, and if you add those freshmen onto certain teams, you go, wait, that team would be just as good, if not better. But this is a very, very good team that Kentucky Wildcats fans should be awfully excited about. I've had an opportunity to spend a couple of days around the team. I was there for Big Blue Madness. They are super talented. There's not many holes that they have. And maybe if you were going to point out one, it's can it work long-term with this much talent on one roster? That would be the one hole. But I tell you what, if I was Coach Cal, I'd want that problem. I would say, let me figure out if this is going to work as far as having too much talent, because it's really hard in today's college basketball world to ever say you have too much of one thing. But they've got shooters, they've got length, they've got guys that can play with their backs to the basket. They have guards that can distribute the basketball. Tyler Eulis, I think, is going to be a very special player for Kentucky. I love the way that he approaches and handles the basketball when it's in his hands. There's a calming nature that comes over the court, even if he's going at a high speed, that he knows exactly where he's going to go at all times. So I think there's a lot to be excited about, and as I predicted, and our predictions are all up from all of our analysts on ESPN.com today, I do have Kentucky winning the national championship. But they'll stub their toe. They'll take a loss somewhere along the way this season.
Well, if you had to kind of fill in the blank, Kentucky is the best team in the country, but blank is right there with them. Who would that be? Would it be an ACC team, or where would they come from?
You know, you could. There's a couple of teams that I would put with them. If I can take, can I do more than one? Because I'll go with a couple for you.
You do what you want to do, man.
Yeah.
Perfect. I think Arizona is a team that has great size underneath. When you think of Brandon Ashley's return, a lot of people forget that Brandon Ashley wasn't there for their postseason run last year, and if he was, they're probably in the Final Four, and maybe even they could win a national championship a year ago. But they have T.J. McConnell, a defensive-minded, great leader at the point guard position. Stanley Johnson, who's an ultra-talented McDonald's All-American freshman. And you add him to a mix of guys like Caleb Charzewski, 7 feet tall, Brandon Ashley, 6'10", Rondé Hollis Jefferson, another guy that's hovering around that 6'10" mark. They've got great size as well, but they also have experience across the board. They have guys that have been there and have done it. The question mark for Arizona is their outside shooting. They need Gabe York to be a better, more consistent three-point shooter. Elliot Pitts, maybe a sophomore that they have. Maybe he's that guy. I think Wisconsin, you talked about, again, about experience, guys that are teams that have been there. Bo Ryan's team, Frank Kaminsky is going to be in the hunt for National Player of the Year honors this year. Sam Decker got stronger. He got taller, which is unbelievable that he grew. But he's going to be a premier talent inside the Big Ten. I think they're another team that could be there. And then I don't look past North Carolina. I know a lot of people are going Duke in the ACC with their 9 McDonald's All-Americans, but I'm more leaning towards North Carolina. And again, I go with experience. J.P. Tokoto, Bryce Johnson, juniors, Marcus Page, Jr., and I think Marcus Page is a guy that could play his way in the National Player of the Year type season, and I think he's ready to assume that role and take that step forward for North Carolina.
Talking to Sean Farnham, ESPN college basketball analyst, Fort O'Brien, ESPN Evansville 105.3 and online, ESPNEvansville.com. As I mentioned at the start there, Sean, we sit right in the middle of IU and UK territory. Things have not been really all that great for IU in the offseason. Is it as bad as it looks, or is this a team that can kind of overcome the controversy and still put together a solid season?
Well, you're talking about an elite program in college basketball history. And obviously it hasn't been at an elite level now for the last couple seasons. They were number one in the country 2 years ago, so you don't want to look past that. But these off-the-court issues are troublesome. And, you can't have that when you're at a school like Indiana. And not with the expectations that fan base has. And that, to be honest, I know Coach Crane has for himself and for the program. In today's college basketball world, the less of the clutter that you can have on the outside, the better. And, so little of what we've talked about on this Indiana team has been about what's on the court. All of it's been about what's off the court. So it's not whether or not it's a distraction. It is a distraction. The question becomes is how has this team been able to look past the distraction? Are they still together inside the locker room? Are they going to be able to put aside everything that they have right now and, be able to focus on the court for 40 minutes? Or is this going to bleed onto the court and take this team apart? That's the interesting thing for me as the season progresses here. And you're talking about a Big Ten conference that obviously I've already mentioned Wisconsin, how good I think Wisconsin is. Ohio State's going to be improved. Russell gives them a scoring punch that they didn't have a year ago. They're very talented freshmen that they brought in. I think Tim Miles is doing a nice job at Nebraska, getting that program moving in the right direction, Teran Petaway. Of course, you can never look past Michigan State and Michigan and what they're going to be bringing to the table as well. So I think that is there a chance Indiana's going to be better than they were last year? They definitely should. If you look at their roster on paper, you'd say this team is going to be better than they were a year ago. But I am concerned about the overall state of the program and where it's at right now.
Well, how good do you think Blackmon can be for IU? I mean, they're projecting, that this guy is going to be really, really good. How good do you think he's going to be?
Well, I believe that he can be a superstar-type player in the conference. I think he has that potential. But potential is a dangerous word. You come in as a freshman with expectations, and you give an opportunity to get out on the floor and to not only just get out on the floor, but be one of the guys that they're going to look at and say, okay, hey, we need you to score the basketball for us. We need you to, night in and night out, be that consistent guy that everybody's going to be gunning for to try to stop. And we got a taste of that when he played in the trip to Canada. He was the team leader in points per game. He took as many shots as anybody so far in the exhibition process. He's going to continue to be a guy that they're going to run the offense through and try to get looks for. So I think he can be as good as really, I'm trying to think of the other freshmen in the Big Ten this year, but I think he could be right there, if not the best freshman in all of the Big Ten this season.
Sean Farnham, ESPN college basketball analyst. Sean, we know we got to run. Follow him on Twitter at Sean Farnham. Appreciate the time.
No problem, guys. Anytime. Talk to you soon.